Brain rot. Sparkling white, eye averting blind, the snow, a dull crunch at each step. He marched through chilled air, up the mountain, fists clenched, arms churning back and forth as though working a handsaw. The wind, serrated, flew under his jacket, slicing his skin, each breath freezing his nostril hairs. Skeletons, snow-covered, infested with furry moving things, coats frozen and torn, seated, propped up against the trees. Rest for a moment, it'll be good for the knees, they called out. He kept his eyes forward, locked on his target. He moved, a missile, a vector, headed through the spruce. He'd never stop, not till he reached the peak. Socks in an endless cycle of wet and frozen as snow got in his boots. He fought the rabid squirrels and rabbits with stern slaps. He had to keep going. He had to get there. And there it was, not the summit, but bright and red, hanging on a low branch, not bland goops of alleged food or dried bits of sickly creatures, but sweet and fresh. His mouth watered. He dropped his bag and ran, jumping for the apple, right arm outstretched, almost sprained his shoulder in the reach, but he missed, landing feet first on a puddle of ice. He slipped, fell in a mound of white fluff, oddly warm. Off went his gloves and jacket, his back pierced by a heat spreading all over in waves, thawing, his muscles going doughy. He sank into the snow, losing sight of the fruit. Fuzzy, snug, vibrant, the toasty embrace grew in intensity the deeper he went. He felt the flame at its brightest, searing, melting. He trickled down between the crevices of the snow, the ice, the dirt, and rock. Finally, a moment to rest. But the flame died. The heat was gone. He was left with lukewarm. His body began to solidify, rising back to the surface. Accompanying him, besides the growing cold, were porcelain bugs colored beige. He told them to take him. He told the centipedes to rip apart, the maggots to devour, the beetles not to leave any scraps. He didn't want to go back. Their nibbles tickled. He laid there, within the dirt, waiting. A shock came when a sharp pain rang in his fingers. He jumped out from the white, smacked raw by jagged gusts. He saw his hands, frostbitten, charred black, his arms riddled in, peeling skin, purple lumps, and white lesions. His gloves and jacket were off. He forgot why. He felt silly. He put his things back on. They'll fix me up at the peak, he thought. He laughed, continuing his march through the biting cold, hopeful no one saw him slip.